places that ship, that's not gonna kill you. Let me know, 'cause I can make
Start.
Cajun food.
It's 6:35, and I'll call the meeting to order. Renee, please call the roll.
Mr. Brewer,
Here.
Mr. McDaniel,
Here.
Ms. McCowan,
Here.
Mr. Parker, Ms. Byrd, Mr. McClure, Mr. Griffith,
Here.
Ms. Kindle, Mr. Jablonski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
So first, I'll start with the consent items. This section is placed on the agenda so the Planning Commission, by unanimous consent, may designate those items they wish to approve by one motion. Any of these items may be removed from the consent docket and heard in its regular order. Item 1, consideration of approval, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of the minutes of the April 13th meeting. Preliminary plats, item 2, consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of PP 2223-7, consideration of a preliminary plat submitted by Gary and Lando, Park Hill Lemke Land Surveying for Demerica Addition, Section 1 for 2.06 acres of property located at 3360 Classen Boulevard. Short form plats, item 3, consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of SFP-2223-2, consideration of a short form plat submitted by David Armstrong, Delta Surveying Company, for the Cary Addition for 1.905 acres of property generally located at the southeast corner of Imhoff Road and Classen Boulevard. Item 4, consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of SFP-2223-3, consideration of a short form plat submitted by Sooner Traditions Realty, LLC, Arc Engineering Consultants, for Zayden's Place for 2.19 acres of property located at 1300 West Lindsay Street. Item 5, consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of SFP-2223-4, consideration of a Norman Rural Certificate of Survey submitted by Virgil and Elizabeth Bevel, Pollard and Whited Surveying, Inc., for Bevel Addition for 0.512 acres of property located at 902 Hoover Street. Does any member of the commission wish to remove any item from the consent docket? Does any member of the audience wish to remove an item from the consent docket? If so, announce which items are being pulled to be discussed in the regular order. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
All right, and please vote.
You may vote. Oh, wait. Now you may vote. Everyone has voted, and the motion carried 5-0.
Now for the non-consent portion of the docket. I have an announcement that items 6 and 7 are withdrawn, so we won't be voting on these. Also, items 10, 12, and 13 are postponed. If I could have a motion to postpone all of these at the same time, then we can just do it in one,
To the July 13th.
to the July 13th meeting. Thank you.
Second.
And a vote, please.
You may vote. Okay, everyone has voted, and the motion to postpone to July 13th carried 5-0.
All right. On to item 8. Consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of ordinance number O-2223-39, Stephen Till requests rezoning from R3 multifamily dwelling district to R1 single-family dwelling district for property located at 485 College Avenue. Could we have the staff presentation?
Good evening. Are we using this remote? The mouse, I mean? Okay. This one? Okay. Doesn't look like the same as last time. Good evening, Anna E. Starr with the Planning Department. This is a request to rezone from R3 to R3 multifamily to R1 single-family dwelling district. Here is the existing zoning map showing the subject tract, and to the north of it is R1 property. To the west of it is R3, and to the south as well. Here is a land use map showing the subject tract, and directly to the east is 490 Elm Street. That property is a home, and it is owned by the applicant as well. And to the north is residential property, and to the south is the Hillel Student Center and parking lot. And to the west is a duplex, as well as the restaurant bar. And then here is an aerial of the subject tract, and you can see the both the 485 College and the 490 Elm. This is a request by the applicant, Stephen Teal, to allow him to rezone this property to R1 so that he may do a lot line adjustment. Both properties need to be the same zoning designation in order to do that. And so he's going to make that request once he gets this, both properties zoned the same thing. And so he's requesting R1 because R1 is what surrounds in the adjacent neighborhood. And he will be removing approximately 1,300 square feet from the subject lot. Even so, he'll still meet the minimum 6,000 square feet required for R1. The applicant is aware also that this is located in the historic district, and he must comply with all historic district ordinance and preservation guidelines regarding exterior renovations. And though this is an uncommon rezoning request, like I said, he was requesting this in order to accommodate future plans that he has for these structures, both at 490 and 485, and he needs to do a lot line adjustment for that. He is currently in the process of converting the secondary dwelling unit. Has been converted at this point. He has gutted it and removed the electric meter, so now there is only one single-family dwelling located, as you can see in this picture, at the front of the lot. And then, let me show you. This is looking north into, north on College into the rest of the neighborhood. And this is looking south towards Boyd Street, down College Avenue. And then this is looking directly across towards the duplex restaurant bar parking area. And here is the site plan that he submitted showing the existing house and the future workshop that he will have using that same structure that's currently accessory dwelling unit. He's going to turn that into his workshop. And so there's not any anticipated negative impacts to the surrounding neighborhood, as this is similar uses are proposed as what's seen in the neighborhood. And with that, staff forwards this request to Planning Commission for R1 with ordinance number O2223-39 for their consideration and recommendation to City Council. And with that, I'd take any questions that you might have.
Denise, I have a question. The existing house that's facing College, is this a contributing structure within the historic district?
Yes, it is. It is contributing, and yeah, as it is. There's some modification to it, but what that appendage that sticks out is original to the house.
So you had mentioned in your comments that there were some planned changes to the two structures. I know you had mentioned that with the shed. Is there?
Yes, he's working to do something to the interior. I don't know, but he's allowed to do that. He understands anything that affects the exterior, he has to come back to the commission for permission. But so far, all the work that he's done is just on the interior work, nothing that affects the exterior so far. And as far as I know, he doesn't have any plans to affect the exterior as far as changing this contributing structure in the discussions that I've had with him.
You may have mentioned this in the 1,300 square feet that he's taking off of the lot. Does that include the back 80 or shed?
Now, site plan kind of shows it. It's really, it's from this corner, he's going to move it. So, no, this shed's totally out of where the lot, he's going to have enough setback both for 490 Elm and for 485 College with that lot line for the proposed lot line he's going to have.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? The applicant is here as well, and if you have any questions of him.
Does the applicant have a presentation? No? Are there questions for the applicant? Are there any audience comments? No? Okay. Planning Commission discussion?
This is pertinent to some of the questions, the kind of line of questions I was asking, but having served on the Historic District Commission for nearly 6 years, my concerns would be with what modifications may occur with that house. But given that it's a contributing structure, there are pretty tight restrictions and guidelines as to what you can do there. So just wanted to make sure that that was kind of clear as to why I was asking some of those questions.
Any other comments? Not? Is there a motion?
Second.
And please vote.
You may vote. Everyone has voted, and the motion carried 5-0.
Okay, item 9, consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of ordinance number O-2223-44, 101 WLLC requests rezoning from the City Center Form-Based Code to the City Center Planned Unit Development for 11,960 square feet of property located at 101 West Sims Street. Could we have the staff presentation, please?
Yes, again, Anna Star, the Planning Department. This is a request by 101 WLLC to rezone from Center City Form-Based Code to CCPUD at 101 West Sims. Here is the subject tract showing you the existing zoning. To the north, west, and south is Center City Form-Based Code, and immediately to the east is Public Street, James Garner, and then as well as the BNSF Railroad. Here is the subject tract showing the land use. To the north is this rail house that exists, and the part that's to be redeveloped is this vacant parking lot to the south. To the west is residential apartments, as well as to the south, and again to the east is the street and the railroad. And here is an aerial showing you that. The parcel, the part of the parcel to be redeveloped is this parking lot area, and to the north is a rail house. The proposal for this site, let me show you some more pictures of it. This is looking from the intersection of James Garner and Sim Street to the northwest. This is looking back west down Sim Street. And this is, again, looking from James Garner back towards the parcel to the west. North along James Garner, and then south along James Garner, and then east looking towards the railroad track. And then if you're on Sims Street, this is your view looking to the south towards these residential apartments. And then if you're on Sims Street and the alleyway, this is looking back northeast towards the parcel. And the proposal for this site is to construct a 4-story apartment building with a total area of 24,582 square feet, excuse me. The proposed development will have 20 residential units. 8 of those units will be 2 bedrooms, 12 of those units will be 3 bedrooms for a total of 52 bedrooms. Open space will be provided on the north side of the building as well as on the rooftop patio and patios and balconies on individual units. There'll be a total of 42 parking spaces. 21 parking spaces will be provided on site behind the building off the alleyway. And there'll be 16 parking spaces built along on street, I should say, on James Garner, and an additional 5 on street on Sim Street. And in your packet was the background information on the Center City form-based code. And I was gonna, let's see, I think, and this is a blow-up of the, a little closer view of this, of the site plan. The applicant is requesting to rezone to a CCPUD in order to build his desired structure. And he's able to meet most of the requirements. However, due to it, the unique qualities of this being a corner lot and the structures he is requesting some modifications to the Center City in order to build this structure. And those are to move the required build line along Sim Street from 9 feet behind the property line to 3 feet behind the property line, reduce the siding requirement on Sim Street from 100% to a minimum of 65%, while increasing the siding along James Garner from 65% to a minimum of 90%. He wanted to increase the allowed offset from the required build line from 24 inches to 48 inches for recessed doors, patios, and doors, and then allowed for a street wall to only be required as indicated on this site plan. And the minimum fenestration requirements for the building facades that are located more than 5 feet from the property line are to be decreased to a minimum of 10%. Allows for all fire-rated walls to be exempt from fenestration requirements, and allows the northernmost wall of the structure that faces the north property line to be exempt from fenestration requirements. He's also requesting a main building sign between the top floor of the structure and the roof line, and that'll be restricted to 3 feet in height for both on the Sims facade and the James Garner facade. And the parking will just be provided as shown on the site plan, and allow for the use of exposed fastener metal panels, except R-style panels will still be prohibited. It should be noted that the staff and the developer have met to discuss the timing of this proposed redevelopment and the James Garner extension, and it is anticipated that both of these may occur simultaneously, and the developer has indicated he'll continue to work with city staff as the redevelopment projects occur. And with that, staff forwards this request and ordinance number 02223-44 to the Planning Commission for their consideration and recommendation to City Council. And I think I have one more slide, and this is just the boundary survey as well, and it's attached to the CCPUD as Exhibit B. And with that, I can take any questions that commissioners might have.
I forget the ordering of the process, but has this already gone through the Center City Review Committee or whatever, like the?
It went to DRT, and he still wanted to do some things that didn't quite meet the code, so then he went with the CCPUD route in order to get all those things that he wanted for the desired structure he wanted.
Okay.
So.
there any other questions for staff? If not, we'll take the applicant presentation.
Yes, the applicant, Peter Petromelli, is here as well.
Good evening. I haven't provided a separate presentation, but I'm here to take any questions you might have.
I have a question. One of the requests for the PUD is that you won't have required windows on the firewalls, is that right?
Yes.
Can you point out which of those walls are actually firewalls? It wasn't clear to me when I looked
Sure.
first time.
Need to figure out how to go preview. Oop. So this north wall right here, and we've actually designed this as a marriage wall so that if we do phase 2, which is hopefully coming, it will, we'll be able to attach onto that. And so we've designed our rooms and the layout inside to allow for this wall to not have windows on it and to be attached to. And then the other ones are just this area here, which is a stairwell, a small area right here, which is a stairwell, and a small area here, which is a stairwell. The rest of the walls will have fenestration on them, and you can see a lot of it here. This is the main elevation that's facing Sim Street, and so all of this is window. This small area right here is that stairwell
Right.
out of the front, and that would not have any fenestration on it. And then same thing here in the back. This wall right here's without windows. That's another stairwell.
Great, thank you. Are there other questions? I have one more question.
Sure.
Overall, I think this looks like a great project. It's a great way to redevelop. One thing that came to mind was with less open space, there's less space for greenery. On the rooftop patio, will it be strong enough to support like potted trees and greenery on top?
Most likely not. We designed that patio. We pretty much double the loading that's required to accommodate some unforeseen circumstances or shenanigans or something that is outside of our control. But I don't think we are not currently designing it for like a green roof or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other than cost, does the CCPUD restrict the number of stories that can be built in this area?
We did not change that from the code.
My question to the applicant is, again, other than cost, what would have prevented you from making that a 6-story structure or an 8-story structure?
Sure. So I believe the requirement in this area is 5-story max. And the reason we didn't go to that is that once you go past 4 stories, we have to bring in a different material, structural material. So is that wrong? Is it 6?
No more than, in the CCPUD, it states it'll be no more than 5 stories.
And is that the?
And that's what meets the Center City form-based code is 5 stories.
Once we go up, then we'd have to bring in a platform slab of concrete, and there is a significant cost to that, to bring in another story. So we try to limit ourselves in wood, and so that's a 4-story building.
I think it's pretty clear from the plan, but just to ask the question, there is all first floor is all residential. There's no commercial on the.
So the first floor is being designed to commercial standards. And so when we're at the point where it can sustain it, it can easily be converted. All the stairwells are separated from that, 2-hour rated walls, and that way, literally it's just gutting interior, non-load bearing, and then coming back. And part of the reason we asked for the 4-foot setback for doors and patios was that along James Gardner, when we do renovate to commercial and our front doors have to swing out, they can't swing into the right of way. And so we would need that extra offset. But we didn't want it to count against us and not fulfilling our build line requirements. So the intent is to turn that into commercial as we move forward.
Well, if there are no more questions of the applicant, we'll take audience comments. All right, no comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there any planning commission discussion? All right, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion
I'll second,
Wait, a motion for what?
to approve.
Okay,
and I'll second that motion.
all right.
You may vote.
Oh, sorry. That was me.
Everyone has voted, carried 5-0.
All right, moving on, the next item on the agenda is number 11, consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of ordinance number O-2223-46. Williams Box, Forshee and Bullard, PC, on behalf of request special use for a public utility for 40 acres of property generally located at the southwest corner of 48th Avenue Northwest and Franklin Road. And we'll take the staff presentation.
Hi, Laura Hoggett with the Planning Department. So we have an application from Williams Box, Forshee and Bullard, PC, on behalf of the applicant landowner for special use for a public utility for an electric substation at the southwest corner of 48th Avenue Northwest and Franklin Road. This is for 40 acres. It's currently a 60-acre tract. They'll be coming back with the COS next month, and then they'll go together as companion items to council. Oh, sorry. The current zoning is A2. It's surrounded pretty much by other A2 properties, and then there's a couple of PUDs as well. The land is currently vacant, and then to the north, east, and south, there's some single-family residences, and then everything else is vacant or used for agricultural use. Here's an aerial of the lot as it is now. So this is a big lot. It's kind of hard to do our normal pictures, but this is looking at the intersection, looking southwest. So this is the corner of 48th and Franklin. This is looking north. This is kind of south on 48th, but looking north. And then looking, I think, east on Franklin. Sorry. Looking east on Franklin. This is the proposed site plan with detention in the southwest corner and 2 access points off Franklin. And then we did receive a protest that came to 3.39% of the notification area. I'm available for questions. The applicant is here at the presentation as well. And staff forwards this request for your consideration.
Are there any questions for the staff?
I actually do have a question on your protest area. There are not very many people located in that. So I'm not sure that 3%, how do you come by the 3% if there's just not that many people that are notified,
So it's by land area.
right? There are a whole lot of people just to the east. And so that's, I guess, outside of the notification boundaries, and I get that.
Right.
But, okay, just clarify. Thank you.
Maybe I didn't misunderstand your question.
Any other questions for the staff? No? All right, we'll take the applicant presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Carpenter with Williams Box, Forshee and Bullard. 522 Colcord Drive is our address. We represent Oklahoma Gas and Electric in this situation. This is for a substation, and I want to be clear, this is a substation that will serve the NextEra line. It is not for service of OG&E. Federal regulations require that OG&E make their system available. And so as NextEra is running this line through Norman, they have to make their system available. Meaning when they select their substation location, they have to work with what NextEra has provided them. They don't get to choose that line and where it's located. They only get to help decide where the substation is. Now, OG&E went through a long process of a site study. They considered the conditions, the uses that surround the property. This property is in fact owned in fee title, so they own it outright, this corner, and they have purchased it in fee. So it is very conducive to OG&E not disrupting any other property owners using the property that they currently own. Just to give you some additional information about this area, there is an existing substation called Pleasant Valley Substation. It's actually just south of where that purple box is located. The residents in the area do have a current substation. They have transmission line that they're used to seeing every day. The request that was made by the protester in this situation was to ask to move the substation both west and southerly. And that was also brought up at the public meeting involving this special permit request. That can't be done because of the substructure of the ground in that area. It's very sandy. It would not be consistent for the structures that are necessary to put a substation in of this size. It wouldn't be able to bear the weight. And so that's why it's necessary for the property at the corner to be the property where the substation is located. In addition to that, we have, like I said, the NextEra line that this substation has to cross through where that NextEra line is going, and we have no control over that either. That's NextEra that gets to make that choice. So this corner was found to be the most appropriate, least interfering with other property owners, and the fact that it's owned in fee and it's also no trees to have to remove, things like that. That's why OG&E has selected this site as really the only site that's available for this substation. As I explained, the NextEra line that's coming through is a federal project that's coming through, and it's required of OG&E to share that system. The property that this is located on and the way that it is sited, and can I use this? Is that okay? The way that it's sited, it's currently set to be set back from Franklin 210 feet and 260 feet from 48th Avenue Northwest. The access points are off of Franklin. The only traffic that should be coming to this substation would be for maintenance, so it should not create any additional traffic, major traffic for this area. It'd be the occasional maintenance truck in the area. We are requesting this special use in order to provide additional electric service to the area of Norman and the surrounding communities. I am available to answer any question. We also have the OG&E team made up of corporate representatives as well as our engineering team, and they're able to answer any other specific questions that you might have.
I have a question.
Sure.
So it's the property owner to the east that objected because of the view. Is there anything you can do to mitigate that?
So there will be a fence that's around, and at the public hearing that was addressed. OG&E at this point in time has plans for a chain link fence, but they're happy to go ahead and include some sort of paneling to make that to provide additional aesthetic accommodation to any of the property owners around.
But in terms of landscaping?
Generally, I don't think they like to put landscaping around their electrical. There creates some sort of, we can't put it inside the gates, and so outside the gates, they generally don't put landscaping due to the engineering needs and safety concerns.
Okay. Are there other questions?
Yes, how tall are the structures usually inside of the facility?
Sure, I'm going to go ahead and ask our engineering team to come up and answer that question on the height of the structures inside. I did want to explain that the transmission line that's going through by NextEra, it's a 345 kilovolt line, which is not accommodated currently at the Pleasant Valley location, and it can't be accommodated in that location. That's why there's this structure that's required.
Excuse me, yes. So we'll have several structures that you can see here. The substation will have two sides.
Could
It will
you,
have
could
a,
you give us your name and your address, please?
yes, I'm sorry. My name is Bernard Montel. My address is 19225 Blanco Drive, Edmond, Oklahoma.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. First time, sorry. So like I was saying, the substation will have two sides. It will have a 345 side and a 138 side. The 345 side will be on the east side of the property. The 138 will be on the west side of the property. So the height will vary depending. It'll go for anywhere from 25 feet all the way up to 45.
Thank you.
No problem.
Another question?
Sure.
It's a new substation, so is there any way to estimate the extent of the surface area for this substation?
So really, that would probably be a proper question for NextEra and the transmission line that's running off of that.
Thank you.
I do have a question about with the engineering elevations. What are the view sight line, or I guess sight lines on this elevation that we're looking at here?
Okay. So as you can see, this view here is from 48th looking west. So 48th sits on top of a hill. So basically what this is showing is if you're standing on 48th Avenue, you won't see the most of the 345 yard. You just mostly gonna see the 138 side, just because you're standing on a hill. This view is if you're standing on Franklin. You basically get to see the whole substation.
You,
So that's the voltage running through those lines. So on the west side, you'll have a 138 kV line that is similar to what we have, exactly the same as what we have on Pleasant Valley right now. On the other side, we have 345 voltage that will be running through that side. That's one of the reasons why we had to build this substation. The NextEra line is 345.
I have a question. I understand why you would not put trees up close, but there is enough setback between the roads on either side to do some sort of low landscape to mask some of the infrastructure there. Would that be a possibility in addition to the paneling on the fence? I think it's important to do as much decorative hiding as possible for the homeowners that do exist to the east and the south.
Sure. No, I understand. The only reason why we couldn't do that, anything on the east side, is there is existing easements from other companies, third-party companies. We don't own them.
I got that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's both on the Franklin side and the 48th side that applies?
Yeah, so we have, I believe there's a water easement, another gas easement on Franklin, and there is 2 gas line easements on 48th that we don't
Okay.
own.
But you are willing to do some paneling in addition to the chain link fence?
If needed.
I think that's important.
Any other questions from the commission?
This may have been addressed in pre-development, but is there any, what type of noise is emitted from a site like this?
Do we have anybody to speak to that today? I'm not sure that we brought anybody to speak to that operating function. We can get you the information if you'd prefer.
Would it be similar to what the substation,
The Pleasant Valley substation, right?
thank you.
No other questions? All right, we'll move to audience comments.
Thank you.
I'm not seeing anyone in the audience who wants to speak. Okay, planning commission discussion?
I think I do want to be on record as recommending that there be as much mitigation as possible by use of paneling on the chain link fence. I would really like to encourage that.
I would support that too.
I agree, and I would propose we include that recommendation in the motion as well.
I would be in favor of doing that. Do you want me to make a motion?
Well, I think the discussion's done. Please make a motion very carefully
Oh, goodness.
with the wording that you want.
Okay. I make a motion to approve with the recommendation that additional paneling be added to the chain link structure fencing structure. Is that? Okay.
I'll second that.
Yeah. I'm talking around the entire, yep.
All right. Any other discussion on the motion? All right. And
You may vote. Everyone, the motion carried 5-0.
all right, our last item of business is miscellaneous comments of the commission and staff. I do have a comment. I think that, let me see. Is it item number 8? No. Item number 9 was a great piece of redevelopment for the area. And you know, one of the things that we're looking at going forward is infill into the center of the city, and that means less open space. But if we're going to have less open space, I do think that the city should consider what kind of requirements we want for rooftop greenery. If rooftop patios make sense, but if we're going to have people living outdoors on rooftops, then we should consider how we can green those up. It's just a comment. Any other comments from the commission?
I have just a comment, just a note that I think that everybody up here is familiar with the fact that we're going through the process with the Strong Towns Community Action Lab. This is really as much for the public as anything, but I'm chairing that, the leadership team for the Strong Towns Community Action Lab, and I just wanted to say if there's, I'd encourage everybody to kind of dive into educating yourselves on strong towns and what some of their principles are. The easiest way to do it is to go to the website, Strong Towns, and read their articles and listen to their podcasts. And you can sign up for their newsletter to kind of go through some of the material as well. And if there's any ideas that come from that, please pass those along our way, because we want to encourage discussion of anything that's, one of them being Commissioner Jablonski had mentioned, looking at creative ways to have infill development within core parts of Norman, and really not even just core, different parts of Norman. So,
Thank you. Yep.
I just want to add one more thing. I know it's the summer vacation, so can you guys stay in touch with us? July is going to be a pretty heavy agenda, so I just want to make sure that we do get a quorum.
What's the date?
July 13th.
Bring lunch.
I'll bring dinner.
Yeah, bring pizza.
I'll bring cookies. Cookies are good.
we'll remember these things. So.
Okay. Got it.
Just kidding.
Any other comments from staff or commission members? All right, if not, we're adjourned.